right, everyone, we have a really great episode for you today. Surprise, we're back. We didn't even take a break.
Breaks are for not
Losers.
us.
Breaks are actually for winners. Are for people that deserve them, and apparently we don't. But we're back and we have an amazing episode. A bucket list, one might say.
We manifested this.
We absolutely did right here on this podcast.
In this very space, we said, watch our dreams come true.
Watch our dreams come true. And if you're listening, this is TG1F, an F1 podcast with Kate and Nicole. My name is Kate.
I'm Nicole.
And this is our show. This is our podcast. We're your hosts. And today is a great day to be us.
One for the history books.
And let's get into it. Thank you so much for making time to chat with us.
No, thanks for having me.
Of course.
We're so excited.
This is something that we've been wanting to do for a really long time, so thank you so much.
When your book first came out a couple of months ago, we were like, man, we would love to have Guenther on the podcast to talk about his book. So I'm glad that it finally it came true. Look at that. So it's really fun to be able to, talk about your book with you and kind of dive a little deeper into the life of Guenther Steiner.
Perfect. I'm ready. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, girls.
Nice to meet you. So Guenther, first of all, we loved your book. And I think my favorite part was that you did the audiobook. That was like everyone we talked to said, I want this audiobook, but I only want an audiobook if it's Guenther reading it. And then you did. And so everyone was psyched about it. But I thought the book was so interesting. And I really loved that you kind of structured it as a series of journal entries. I thought that was a really fun way to give readers really like a glimpse behind the curtain. Was that something that you planned, or were you just, writing journal entries because you knew you were going to write a book, or kind of how did it happen that was the structure of the book?
Very strange how the book in the first place happened, because I didn't plan to do a book. So I was approached to do a book, and first of all I ignored the emails because I said no real interest to write a book, or to do a book, because I wrote it with somebody, obviously. And then at some stage the guy was persisting, and he said, speak with this. He wrote the book with Johnny Herbert as well, which was a former F1 driver, and Johnny's a friend, and said, speak with Johnny about me. I spoke with Johnny, and he said, no, the guy's a good guy, you'll have fun with him. And then I said, okay, let's speak with him, and I talked with him, and I said, I don't want to do autobiography, because, everybody has done one, and it's a little bit nerdy, I said, if we do something, we have to come up with something a little bit different, a new approach to what is done. And he said, how about if we do like a diary, and a diary of races, and what you do. And I was like, well, that could be interesting, and it's a different way to do it. Obviously, it came out different way. And I said, if we do it, it needs to be that even if somebody's not a big F1 fan, he still reads it because it's entertaining. That was one of the things. I didn't want just F1 fans reading about which setup we put on the car and which wing level we run, because that gets old pretty quick, So he said, no, we do this, that. And obviously, the only risk was, I said, if it is a boring year, what are you going to write about? And he said, it will not be boring. I said, well, maybe you know something I don't know, but he was right, credit to him, And then we started to write it, and after each race, we had a briefing, I told him what happened, and we wrote it, and like the stories, of my past, the good old days stories, which you young people are not really interested in, the good old days stories, they came out. I took the guy with me to a few races, and I just told him the stories over dinner. I cannot sit down and you ask me, tell me a good story of your life. I cannot come up with one. But when you're at dinner, so one thing leads to another, and then you tell these stories, And he said, these are great stories for the book. I said, if you think so. And then obviously we did a little bit of background work, do the details, so you get the real story. And that is how this book happened, So that is how this diary came together.
I love that. Yeah, that's so fun. And I'll correct you in that I loved the stories from the good old days. I thought those were some of the most interesting parts because, like you said, we're watching the races every week, and so it was great to hear, about your mindset during those. But I loved hearing about things that, I, wasn't a fan of F1 during that time, or I wasn't alive yet, and so it was really fun to kind of go back and hear
I
about
don't
all
think
that.
you were alive.
Maybe the very early days.
Yeah.
Now, did you always keep a journal, or is this something new that you started doing just for the book?
Something new, completely new, and actually I just made a few bullet points, and then I always said when we wrote that I need to speak the week after the race what happened, or if something happens that it's fresh in my mind. I'm not good in remembering things because I always think it is not interesting, because next week will be another drama, or something else new happening, so it's always, so I have to get it off my chest immediately, so it's not forgotten. I would have to tape it, but I worked together very well with the writer, so we became friends doing it, so it was very easy to do, to be honest.
Is there anything from the first draft of the book that got cut from the final edition that you wish had made it in, or did everything make it through to the final cut?
No, everything made it through. Everything made it through. There is nothing which is missing, because in the end we wanted to tell the real story, how it happened. So everything there was obviously for some people maybe some things they don't appreciate, but it is reality. That is what happened. There is no fantasy work and nothing left out.
Yeah,
That's awesome. So I want to dive a little into some things that you talked about in the book. And the first is, I would love to hear more from you about kind of the first iteration of what would eventually become Haas that didn't end up happening. It must have been really disappointing at first to have put in so much work to create this American F1 team and then have it, really working to get over the finish line and watch it not come to fruition. I think a lot of people can relate to that. What really kept you motivated to keep working and eventually bring Haas to life into the F1 grid?
I think if you've got, I would say, a target, a dream, you just keep on working. And I'm always in the opinion, you try to do always your best. You put the best effort in. Sometimes your best effort is not good enough. But as long as I can say every morning, I always, or every evening, I put the best effort into the day I can do, that is the limit. And sometimes you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, and sometimes you're at the right place at the right time. It's a little bit of fortune as well in life, but you put this effort in, if it works, fine. But I was also under no pressure. If it didn't happen, maybe my life would have changed, obviously, because it would have changed, but I was okay. I have my own company, and this was just a thing which I thought it was a great idea at the time, to try to do something. And obviously, Mr. Haas must have thought the same, because in the end, he put effort in, which is bigger than mine, put the money behind it to make it happen, So, but I think it's not difficult for me to keep on being motivated, because you say you do your best and something will come, So it's just like always keeping on pushing hard.
Yeah. Do you still have the PowerPoint that you made for Gene?
I'm sure I've got it somewhere on one of my old computers, and I'm sure I've got, at the time when you went to a presentation, you have a PowerPoint, but you always had to have a printed copy as well,
Yeah.
So if you speak only 12 years ago, that's what it was. You always had to hand over a printed version. These days you don't do that anymore. You just send a file. But at the time, I'm sure at home I've got some of these ones as well. And it's actually quite a good question, because I need to go and check, because it would be nice to go through it and see, what was the plan? Did it happen at the end,
I was going to say, I feel like that's like a fun kind of thing to look back on and say, okay, what changed from this first iteration that we had, and how have we grown beyond kind of our wildest dreams? And, we're big nostalgic people over here. So you should definitely look for that and see if you can find it and just revisit that.
I'm sure I'll find it, Nicole.
So one of my favorite parts of the book was when you were talking about your rally days, and you went to the Dakar rally and got lost in the desert and was stuck in a van with 5 other stinky men, and were really you said that the only thing you had was a compass to try and find your way, and it was one of the most interesting parts of the book. But it made me think, have you ever seen the show The Amazing Race?
No, I've not seen it.
It's
No.
essentially a show where you team up with a friend or a person in your life, and it's essentially that. You have a compass and you get a little bit of money, and you have to make it to, you get clues, and you have to basically race all over the world to find things, and you can barter with people, and that's how you kind of get around. And it sounded just like your experience. And my question is, if you could choose one person from the F1 world to team up with for the Amazing Race or to redo your Dakar rally, who would you choose?
I mean, if I could, like Mattia Binotto, I mean, he's not in Formula One right now, but he was there, and
Yeah.
hopefully he will come back. But I would go with him because at least we could. I know that I could enjoy it and laugh about it. The only difference, what you are saying, this race with my one in Dakar, I didn't plan to get lost. I planned to race. There was no plan to get lost and just have a compasses.
Yeah, this one would be
I don't think a
planned,
lot
so
of
it'd
people
be
ever
better.
plan to really get lost, but I was reading that passage in that story and I was like, well, I know he obviously comes out of it, but I'm very excited to see like where the next twist and turn of this story is going to be. I agree with Kate, it was one of my favorite parts of the whole book. And one of the other things you talk about in the book is when you went to go see Rush and you really enjoyed it, and you were talking to Nikki about, the actor that portrayed him, and you were commenting on how well of a job he did. And so I would just be curious if you've ever thought about who you would cast in the role of in the Guenther Steiner story. Who would you want to portray you?
Clint Eastwood, the coolest guy in the world. I know he's a little bit old now. I mean, but. For me, for my generation, I mean, Steve McQueen is gone already, so he's not around. But this would be cool people. Maybe you girls don't even know that anymore. This elderly cool people.
I mean, I think we're pretty up to date on things. I think you're not giving us enough credit about.
I underestimate you. Yeah.
We might even be older than you think we are. So.
And I also would be curious, like, what would be the regiment for you training this actor on how to like confidently portray you in the film? What would one day in your life look like that they could really understand who you are?
I would just take them with me the whole day. I mean, I would be like Nicky and say, take him with me 3 days, and then tell, I mean, he's just good because he was with me 3 days, I learned from the best, So I learned from the best, how confidently he told me, I mean, sure, he's good. He was with me I trained him for 2 days. All right, then,
I mean, it is what it is.
You have to be
confident.
Confidence is key in knowing that you did that. Another thing that you mentioned is during the U.S. Grand Prix in Austin, and you said they had Ed Sheeran and some other musicians there, but you wished that it was ABBA who was playing. And my question there is, have you seen the Mamma Mia movies, and which one is your favorite?
I have seen years ago one of them, and I actually wanted to go to the musical in London a few months ago when I was there, but I didn't make it, I went to see Tina Turner instead, the musical, not her, the musical, so it was good, so, but no, I've seen one, but it was the older one, the ABBA movie. I don't know how many there are, therefore I couldn't say, I think it was the first ABBA movie I've seen, I don't know, is there more than two, but
Nope, there's just two. There's Mamma Mia
then
one.
I saw the old one,
Yep.
So then I saw the old one. I know that there's more than one, but I've seen that one. But I still would like to see the musical, which is all 3D images and stuff like this. Apparently it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you got to see the second one. It's a very hot button topic which people think the first movie or the second movie is better, and like which collection of songs is better. I am a fan of the first one, but I think that some people find that to be a controversial take.
Okay, I will check out next time I have the chance. I go and watch it.
What is your favorite ABBA song?
Tell me a few. I don't remember the titles.
We've got Lay All Your Love on Me.
Yeah, we've got Mamma Mia.
We've got Gimme Gimme Gimme. We've got Money Money Money.
Dancing
Queen.
I like that one. Money Money Money. Yeah.
I mean, that fits your personality super well, so I agree with that. In the book, you bring up the idea of a white-collar boxing match between the team principals. Now, this is something Kate and I have talked about on our podcast as well. We discussed potentially Toto versus Zach, and while Zach's not technically a team principal, we did discuss it. But who would be your ideal title fight among the team principals?
Toto.
Versus you?
Yeah.
Or who else? You and
No,
Toto.
I thought the question was who would I fight?
Oh,
No.
both? Okay,
no.
so we'll do both. So you're fighting Toto, but then also, like, who else do you want to watch?
Christian and Zach.
That would be good.
Okay,
That would be fun, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Who would win?
and who's winning?
It will be a closed match, yeah. I think it will be a closed match, I don't know.
Like we said when we were talking about Toto and Zach, we were like, okay, well, Toto definitely has the height, but we think we could underestimate Zach and his ability to be quick. So, I think it would be pretty evenly matched, but I think Toto ultimately is going to come out on top.
I'm with you there.
We've seen too many videos of him working out to not know how strong he is.
Correct. I think he wins, and we know how much Zach works out. Basically nothing,
Something that you mentioned once in the book, and it was the only time you mentioned it, and I wish you mentioned it more, and I have to know more. You talked about, at one point, you said, I gotta go put on my lucky shorts and go to the racetrack. What are your lucky shorts? Do you wear them for every race? I have to know more about this good luck ritual.
No, it's more of a saying, I don't have any lucky shorts, really. It's more a saying, I need to do something to get some luck,
Got it.
Because otherwise you think I don't change them, I wear them the whole weekend.
That's not a rumor
Every
we'll
photo
start,
we
I
see.
promise.
Yeah, exactly. That is not what the rumor we want to spread here on this.
The headline is just Guenther owns one pair of shorts.
Stinks.
That's it.
No, it stinks. And we know why now.
Problem solved. In the book, you talk a lot about the upcoming Vegas Grand Prix, and you seem very, very excited about it, right? Which we're also super excited to see how this pans out too. There's a lot of buzz around it. We went to Miami last year for the first race, and there was a lot of buzz around that race, so we're excited to see it amped up to like 1 million for Vegas. But you mentioned that as of last year, you actually didn't know where you were going to be able to stay because of all of the rooms being booked up. Have you and the team finally found yourself a room to stay in for the Vegas Grand Prix?
Yeah, we found the whole team is staying at the MGM hotel,
Fine.
So we found something, and I think the problem with the team there is some of the guys have not been in Vegas, so I think we need to keep a close eye on them, so we're not losing them, So who has not been there? It's a different world, and when you tell this to people like our people, they travel all over the world, So they have seen a lot of things, but if you have not been in Vegas, it is one of these things. There's only one of it, and
Yes.
there is a reason why. You cannot compare it with anything else, and especially now having a complete night race, I find that is pretty cool. Starting at 10 o'clock at night, the race is on a Saturday, is cool. So, but as I said, we need to make sure that the guys after the race go back where they should go, is to their room and not around, because Vegas starts at 2 in the morning. Never
Yes.
sleeps. So
You're going to have to
Yeah,
enact a curfew.
And
Yeah.
I've stayed at the MGM before. It's a good hotel, so I think you'll like it. It's a good one. Very fun. There's
Good.
a great buffet.
Yeah,
There's
it's
a
no
good.
fun for us. We are just there for work, Kate.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Fun
it's
for us, exactly.
zero
Yeah.
fun. Zero fun. There's
fun.
nothing
Hard
good
work.
there. Tell your
Exactly.
team there's nothing fun.
There's nothing fun to do there.
No.
Just
Vegas
come in,
is-
and
yeah.
go back.
You just want to go to sleep. That's it. That's the best.
Notoriously known for being boring, for sure.
Yeah. So you've obviously worked in rally and in NASCAR and in Formula One. Is there any other motorsport series that you would like to give the Guenther treatment?
I mean, it's not that I want to do something different, but I find MotoGP quite interesting. I never worked with bikes, so it would be something completely new for me. And I don't know if because my experience is all with cars, but that would be one of the things I would be interested at least to learn about, MotoGP, because I think these guys are very cool, and very brave in my opinion, and therefore I quite like it.
That's my goal too. I really want to get more into MotoGP. So Guenther, you and I can go on a MotoGP journey and we can learn about MotoGP together.
Absolutely, and I'm trying since 2-3 years to go to a race, but I never find the time to go to one because with our schedule it's very difficult. Exactly, yeah. And then when we are in a place, they're the complete opposite side of the world. So it's always difficult. So, but I hope I can get there. I think this year I cannot do it anymore, but next year I need to plan to go to one.
Well, you let me know which one you're going to, and I'll be there too, and we'll watch.
We go together. Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple of just like quick rapid fire questions. Who would you say is the biggest diva in the paddock?
That's very personal, huh? The biggest diva. I think Louis, huh?
Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I can see that.
Quite anonymous here,
Presumably.
I think he deserves to be a diva too. He's earned it at this point. What is one of the craziest rumors that you've heard about yourself?
I mean, the latest one, which is I'm suing Gene in the moment, So that is quite a crazy bit. When I read it, it's like, I don't know about that one, but it's completely out of nowhere. Yes, I'm not going to sue Gene.
Too much on the line. Can't be suing Gene.
Maybe the wrong moment, huh?
And who would you say has been your favorite driver to work with in terms of personality?
Think of personality. Kevin is pretty good to work with, to be honest, And I know him a long time. That maybe helps as well. We know each other very well, It's like we don't even need to talk. We just look at each other and we know what we think, So that is good to work with.
A true sign of best friends. I love that. You can just communicate with a look.
Yeah. And he knows when to get away from me,
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably a good trick to have up your sleeve. So last of these more quick questions, but I don't know if you've heard, but Toto is now doing some guest lecturing at Harvard Business School. What is a topic that you think that you could teach a course on at Harvard?
About how to speak with people direct, to say what you want to say without wasting time.
I think that is something
that
a lot of people could learn. Yeah, that's good.
Where do you think, when was this a skill set that you kind of picked up? Has it been over the course of your career, or is it something that you felt that you had to like seek out and learn on your own because it was just other people weren't doing it around you?
No, I was always pretty outspoken about things. Obviously, it depends also the circumstances you work in, if you can use it or not. But then when I worked with Niki Lauda, obviously there he was the master in it to say a lot in as little as possible, So and that reinforced my way of doing things as well. And from there onwards, I said, either I'm myself or I do something different.
And one more question before we move on, but in the book you talk about kind of the role social media has played in your life through Drive to Survive and the Haas team kind of promoting you. Do you think you've kind of grown comfortable with your role on social media and kind of becoming a meme sometimes, or is it still something that you find uncomfortable?
No, I'm fine with it because I think, and I'm not present on social media, me as a person, and I don't follow a lot, but obviously I've got a 14-year-old daughter, which shows me sometimes the memes and stuff, but I think they're all done in the right perspective, to have fun, to entertain people. So I don't get upset because I sometimes say things you shouldn't be saying, and if you do it to people, you need to, if you dish it out, you need to be able to take it as well, So I'm always living with that principle, So if nobody's getting nasty against me or against my family, I'm pretty, I can smile at myself. I can laugh at myself a lot,
That's a really good quality to have. One of the things, like we mentioned earlier, we talked about how earlier on this podcast, we have talked about how we wanted you on to be able to talk about this book. And, we often credit you on the pod for being an inspiration to the two of us due to the fact that you aren't afraid to make things happen for yourself. We love kind of the career journey you've been on and how you have set out to find success in your own right and on your own path. So what is some advice you can give us about building a successful and fulfilling career?
Just, first of all, try to do what you like, make it possible. Because if you do something and you like it, you always do your best. And sometimes the best is not good enough, and we have to live with that, But at least for yourself, I've done the best I can. I never, it isn't down that I didn't succeed because I didn't put effort in, put 100% effort in, and then I always saw you will have success in what way or another. You will have success, but and never give up. I mean, that is a thing you shouldn't. Oh, it didn't work out today. I'm not going to do it anymore. No, keep on doing it again. It's the same when I went out creating this F1 team. Gene Haas was not the first guy I approached. I approached a lot of people, and it's just like, okay, I respect people. They passed on a project I want to do, but I still respect them, and you keep on going. And that's the thing. And you girls are young, and you've got a brilliant future in front of you. If you keep on working hard and trying hard and have the confidence that you do the right thing because you put the right effort in, because that gives you confidence, in my opinion, you will have success. As simple as this. It's pretty simple.
It is, yeah.
Head down and keep on going for it, yeah.
Well, another thing that we talk about on this podcast is that we are huge fans of Haas, and we want to see Haas have all the success that you all deserve. We love the kind of family vibe that the whole team has, and you all seem so close. And so one thing that you talked about a lot in the book, and we are always thinking about, is what is the best sponsor for Haas? Who does Haas need to work with? And we would like to take some time to pitch you on some of our best ideas for who Haas should partner with. So
first of all, we've got one common interest. I want to see Haas successful as well, you see. MoneyGram is a very good title sponsor. MoneyGram, as a company, we like it a lot because they work hard for us. So in the end, we have got a good sponsor with us. But we can use any sponsor. It always helps. Money always helps, as you know.
We always joke that we're going to be cold calling a bunch of these companies to be able to say, hey, you got to give Haas some money because we think you would be a great partner for them.
So here's our quick business pitch, because as you said, we have to go out and take it for ourselves, what we want to do. So we have put together a pitch deck for you, and we believe that Haas has unlimited potential as the only American Formula One team, and you have fan favorite figureheads as yourself. You've had previous out-of-the-box partnerships like the partnership you did with Chipotle, and we think that you have the ability to work with some really creative partners with American brands that will get positive media attention, get support from new fans and old fans, and most importantly, make some fucking money.
Right.
Comes their way.
Perfect. Fantastic. Well said. Well said.
So the first brand that we like is Oscar Mayer Wiener. And we think this is what is more American than a hot dog? Nothing. And what is more American in the F1 world than Haas? Nothing. This would have everyone rooting for the home team. We have a fun livery that you could do as a special introduction here where it makes the car look like a hot dog. The drivers could wear a suit that looks like the ketchup and the mustard on the hot dog.
Built over it, yeah.
And we can brand it the Oscar Mayer Wiener. It works.
Let's see what Oscar Mayer says to it,
The next is Haas Avocado, of course, because Haas and Haas, same word, different spelling. And this would bring brand recognition to a whole new level and would be just as perfect as when you slice into an avocado, and it's perfect on both sides. Once again, a fun announcement livery where the driver's helmet looks like the pit of the avocado.
Good idea.
Thank you.
You girls did your homework,
Oh, we did. We've been thinking about this for a long time. The third is Chubbies. I'm not sure if you've heard of this brand, but they're a very fun men's fashion brand in the U.S. They very much feel aligned with Nico's personality. He loves a fun print, and they do short shorts for men, swim trunks, regular shorts, fun party shirts, and have really fun patterns. And we think that neither Haas nor Chubbies lack any personality, and it would be a great opportunity to bring them together, really eye-catching designs both on and off the track, and we thought it would be very funny to also have a race suit that makes it look like the drivers are wearing the shorts.
Shorts, yeah. That's actually quite a good idea,
Thank you. And then last but not least, we would be remiss if we did not put this in here, but Two Girls, One Formula. If we had any money, we would give Haas every cent, every last dollar that we have as your sponsor, and we could name it Two Girls, One Haas.
That would be even better, huh? What is stopping you making money?
Well, we're still in the early stages of our business development. So the things that's stopping us right now is we're trying to get sponsors just like you. We're struggling to get sponsors for the podcast.
It's always a struggle. I can
hard.
tell you. But keep on pushing. As I said before, you will find them, you know?
You know?
If you do a good job, you will find them.
So if you like our ideas, if you feel passionate about our ideas, that gives us confidence that our ideas are good, and then we can go out and really pitch these ideas to other brands to invest their money in our podcast. And then in turn, we'll make so much money that we can then return the favor to you and invest in the Haas team.
And then we all work together.
Exactly.
Like
and then we can also go out and do MotoGP too. We can make a conglomerate. Yeah. But on those lines, if we're going to be confident, and we would love to work with you and with Haas in some way or shape and form, Nicole and I will actually be in Monza in a couple weeks for the Grand Prix, and we would love to work with Haas on promoting your book and promoting Haas and telling all of our fans that Haas is the #1 team on the grid.
Very good, you know. And why did you pick Monza?
We wanted to go to an international race, and I'll let Nicole tell the sob story here.
Actually, it's funny. We're reclaiming Monza because I was with my ex-boyfriend who got me into Formula One, and I thought he was going to propose to me when we went to Italy and for the Monza Grand Prix, but I unfortunately caught him cheating on me, and so the Monza Grand Prix was a little ruined for me, and I didn't really want to watch F1 after that. But Kate convinced me to come back, and we created Two Girls, One Formula out of lemons, and so it is kind of a full circle moment for us where I'm going back and I'm having a much better experience this time around.
Sounds good, you know. If you're around, come and see us, you know.
So
would love to.
All right.
Well, Guenther, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. This was so much fun and like a dream come true for us on this podcast. Appreciate you coming on and bringing your great energy and being willing to chat with us and answer some of our crazier questions. This has been amazing.
Well, thank you for having me, and it was fun also for me. As you know, I mean, I always enjoy things, you know, new things, and if it was good for you, no, appreciate it.
You know, if there's one thing we learned from your book, you do love to talk. So we are very excited to have you on the pod to be able to give us your side of the story a little bit more. So thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you in Monza.
Monza, yeah, hopefully see you in Monza. Come by, girls.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much, Guenther.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nicole.
Now, if there's one thing these two girls are going to do, it's make their dreams a reality, which, like I said, with Guenther, that's why he's our ultimate girl boss, because he makes things happen for himself, and so do we.
That was, I think, maybe one of my favorite interviews we've ever done. Like, and it makes me so happy because he just is who you think he is.
Yeah.
You know?
It's WYSIWYG with Guenther, you know?
I loved him. And that was so much fun. Like, my cheeks hurt because I was smiling so much and laughing, and like, I'm still smiling. And like, I can't believe that just a couple months ago we said, I wish that we could have Guenther on the podcast to talk about his new book, A Fireside Chat with Guenther. And look at this episode. This episode's called Two Girls, One Guenther Steiner. We did it.
And soon it will be Two Girls, One Haas.
Yes.
Because we will be business partners together. Obviously.
Yeah, and then me and Guenther are going in on we're going to buy a MotoGP team.
I think it's going to be perfect. It's literally no notes. I think we really crushed it. We crushed our manifestations, and, you know, it's just funny to me that even from the beginning of like Two Girls inception, and like even watching from the first episode of Drive to Survive, we've always been like, we love Guenther, and we're so happy that someone like this has found success in the Formula One world. Like, you know, for all intents and purposes, like, obviously in the book, Guenther talks a little bit about how he didn't finish school and he kind of dropped out, and then he just started working really hard and making a name for himself. And I find that so admirable. And I just love his energy, and I love the fact that he is not afraid to take risks and really put himself out there. So if there's one thing this podcast has taught you today, and Kate and I often preach this, is that shoot your shot, make those connections, work hard for yourself, and prove your love for things, and good things will come out of it. And I think Guenther's the perfect example of that.
And I think, I mean, one of his best characteristics also is what he's told us, and he says, I can laugh at myself. And if you can dish it out, you have to be able to take it. And I think that that's just like such good life advice, and something that's just so easy to say, and sometimes for some people not very easy to do. Like a lot of people I think can dish it out, but then can't really take it, and maybe take themselves a little too seriously. And I love that Guenther doesn't take himself too seriously, and he can take it just as much as he can dish it. And he, you know, appreciates the memes and things like, you know, I mean, of course, as long as they're all in good fun. But I just think like he just has such a great energy and such a great outlook on life and success, and like what defines success, and what defines, you know, working hard. And I just really think that everyone should be a little bit more like Guenther, and have a little bit more of those outlooks.
I think, you know, obviously we always end our podcast with a bit of a manifest minute, and we say, in order to have this energy move into the next week feeling this way. And I think everyone who's listened to this podcast over the next week, channel your inner Guenther Steiner and really try and make your dreams a reality this week. Even if it's, you know, a super small step forward, nothing is too small in the process of making your dreams a reality. And if you're feeling down, you know, get back up again and get back on that horse and try again, because the answer is always no until it's a yes. And so you just got to find the right people who believe in you. You got to find your Gene Haas.
You do. You have to find your Gene Haas. I think that's great. And
in a
and
world,
like Guenther said, as long as you're just trying your best, that's all you can do. As long as you can go to bed at night and say, I did the best I could today. And sometimes your best isn't a lot. Sometimes, you know, just getting up and doing your day is the best you can do. I think your best is very relative, and very subjective to what your mental state is, what your physical state is, what your, you know, life state is, your emotional state, all of that. And as long as you can go to bed and say, you know what, I did my best today.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
And you and I are always saying that.
I'm feeling just so inspired and motivated after this. I'm going to listen to this episode 100 times a day, I think. Like this is my morning mantra, is I'm just going to listen to this episode.
You know how a couple weeks ago we said that Guenther could teach a masterclass on being broke and, like, you know, still running a company while not having enough money? He could also teach a masterclass on finding your inner peace, because I feel so inspired walking away from that conversation with Guenther today.
100%. 100%. I hope we get to do this again. Can't wait for his next book so we can talk to him about that one. What a fun day.
And this week's Manifest Minute is that we will be with Haas in Monza. So everyone, put that in your little brains. It's going to happen.
All right. Well, clearly our summer break didn't really work out for us in terms of taking a break, but I wouldn't have wanted to break our break any other way. Yeah. And so you guys, we might be back next week. Maybe we'll be back in Italy. Who knows? We'll be back at some point. But until then,
we'll see you on the internet.